What's going on, guys? Noobs here, and I am joined once again by...
Me.
Me! Who are you?
It's Burrhe. Hi guys, it's Burrhe. Yeah, happy to be back. Had a lot of fun last time.
And last time we were talking about a Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of tricked you into talking about Zelda some more.
No, this is a completely different game. There's no relation.
Nothing
at all.
Nothing like
to do
a
with
Zelda
it.
game here. Today we are reviewing. Is it Blossom Tales? Yes.
I think so. Or is it Blossom's Tale?
See, that's my question. No, I've checked. It's Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King.
Cool. Yeah.
A lot of people forget the rest of that title, including me.
It's very important. It's very important. So you can't just call a Zelda game Zelda. It's got to have...
Right. You got to have colon something. I picked this game up on Switch and played through it, just like could not put it down a few months ago. So I recommended it to you.
Yeah.
And you played it, and now we're going to do a little review.
We are.
So did you want to start out just kind of giving your first impressions?
Well, yeah, let's go over what basically the game is. I think if you've got anything from what we've just been joking about, it's basically a 2D Zelda game. That's the easiest way to explain it.
And specifically linked to the past, I would say.
Yeah, it's very the art style as well, very linked to the past.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of 16-bit style, and the music as well. I think my first impression was literally, hold on, have they just copied the Zelda music? Hold on. Oh no, that note's different. That note's different, but it was basically Zelda's Lullaby, and then they added a few notes in here and there.
Yeah, they're skirting the copyright for sure.
Yeah, I mean, great music, so I was loving it.
Yeah,
but it was like, ooh, this is a bit too close, guys. You're cutting a fine line. Yeah.
I mean, my lifelong fantasy dream game has been just a sequel to Link to the Past. And I more or less finally got that with Link Between Worlds. But then when I found this, it was like, oh, there's more. There's another one.
So as someone who's played pretty much every Zelda, one of the only Zeldas I've not played is the original Link to the Past.
Oh, for shame.
and a Link Between Worlds.
Oh, no.
Both of which I own as well. I've just not got around to actually playing them.
Oh, no.
So this is from a perspective of someone who has not played those games, which this game is aping on.
Oh, that is astonishing. For the record, Link to the Past is my all-time favorite game.
I know. It's so many people's all-time favorite game, and I've just not gotten around to it.
For shame.
I have played a lot of the other 2D Zeldas, but that's just the one I've just not...
Okay. Well, it does, I would say, also has a fair amount in common with the other ones. Especially maybe the Game Boy Color ones.
Yeah, I've played the latest ones I played, or the most recent ones I did play, was the Oracles games, Seasons and Ages. So I can definitely have a lot of comparison. Yeah, I can definitely I saw a lot of comparisons with those. Another first impression I had with this game, let's go. Basically, the first thing you see is, two kids wanting to get told a story by Grandpa, and I love that theme. It comes into play later on, which we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. But that whole theme of, Grandpa is telling a story to his kids. I think one of the first lines is actually, "Let me tell you a story about an elf boy from the kingdom of And the kids interrupt him and go, "No, we've heard that so many times."
Yes!
And that really made me chuckle.
I completely forgot about that, but yes, I love that. It's a good joke. But it also is kind of a good setup because you can kind of see this as a story, and so which would make more sense for Zelda games, right? Because it's so many of them are the same story being retold over and over again.
That's my headcanon now, is that all the Zelda games are told by this grandpa.
I mean, that actually makes more sense than the timeline.
Yes. But yeah, so that actually comes into a play in the sort of the gameplay later on. But I just love the devs knew what they were doing, they knew what they're creating, they knew, okay, we love Zelda so much, let's just make a Zelda game. And just to let you guys know, if you played a Zelda game, this is what it's going to be. And that's
right. They're not trying to hide it at all.
No, not at all. It's so obvious. It's if they didn't mention it themselves, it's it's just too obvious, like not to mention it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's like the Princess Bride thing, right, with the grandpa telling the story.
Love that film so much. Oh my god.
So, and you don't see that a lot actually. So I think that's kind of a fun setup.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like that whole setup is like almost like so overdone that it's not done enough anymore.
Yeah.
Because people like think of it as a premise and just go, nah, that's
right, too
silly.
cliche.
Yeah. But it's actually not anymore because
right.
You're right. Cool. Do you remember any other first impressions you had?
So, I mean, past all of like kind of that story stuff you talked about, my first thought was actually like once I got into the game was, it just moving around doesn't feel enough like Link to the Past.
See, I think I had the opposite to that because I've not played.
So I think maybe I was just like my muscle memory was kind of still with controlling Link, and just the movement of your character in this just feels a little different, so it felt wrong at first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of like maybe playing a different platformer after playing tons of Mario might.
Yeah, I get that.
So I actually was a little annoyed at first and liked the game more and more as I played it, just because I adapted to the movement of the character.
Yeah. I know what they did with it because I picked up on it quite quickly as well, and it's they've put momentum into the character's movement. So your start up to the movement is a bit slower to get to your max speed, and then when you start moving, you literally slow down. You don't just like immediately stop. So I think that's what the problem for you is.
Right.
And when I first started, it's like, oh, I really like that there's momentum here. Like, it felt really nice. Like, I felt like there was weight to the character. Like, it wasn't just like a load of pixels moving around where I wanted it to move. Like, it felt more natural to me to move that way.
That's a really good analysis, and I think you're totally right. Like, it didn't occur to me. It just felt kind of floaty or felt like I had less control, but that's exactly what it is.
No, like, I like the whole... momentum in video games and like those 2D games, like particularly platformers as well. I've not seen it done too much in like these top-down 2D games as much. Is that the momentum, if done incorrectly, just strips you of a load of fine control. But like, look at Mario games. A lot of Mario games have that momentum in them.
That's true.
That make them feel really nice, and like Mario has weight and like connects these jumps, and it makes the movement feel really nice and fluid when you're speeding up, and when he stops, he like does that skid. Yeah. Like a lot of really good platformers implement this momentum that I've not seen in these sort of 2D top-down games that I really enjoyed. The movement in this game because of that, and it felt like I was the character in it.
Yeah, so I had to kind of adapt to that, especially it comes into play with some of the puzzles. But that's all I remember of first impressions. Other than that, it was, kind of the first impression I have with any game in the Zelda series as well, which is, yeah, story, I don't care, let's go.
Yeah.
But this game got going pretty quick.
I mean, the story doesn't, like, play too much role, I think, into it. It's just like, okay, here's the bad thing that happened, here's the bad guy, go collect the MacGuffins to save the good guy.
Right. And I almost kind of like with games now, I just kind of go, yeah, I know. Let's like
I want to play. I don't have time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does that cover us for first impression?
Well, we've talked about the movement. What do you think of the combat when you went into it? Because they did a few tweaks to the combat from other games I've played like that.
I did enjoy just how many enemies they throw at you, which is definitely upped from like a Link to the Past or other 2D Zelda games. Like
sometimes you'll just get a room full of enemies,
just
and like
swarmed with enemies.
Yeah.
And that is something I love. Like I kind of always felt like they could have done more with that in those Zelda games. Like make it a little bit more about the action. As far as like the actual sword swings and stuff, they feel pretty good. They also don't feel quite right to me, but I can't tell if that's a fault of the game or of me.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't. Yeah. I felt like the swings were good. Like the combat didn't feel like sluggish or anything like that.
No, it's pretty snappy. It's pretty quick.
Like what you wanted to do happened. Like the controlling was really good.
Later on, they give you some additional abilities that I felt were maybe not implemented very well.
Yeah, we can talk about that maybe in the next section of our discussion.
Yeah.
But I think I had almost like a opposite reaction to the amount of enemies.
Okay.
Again, like the movement. Like I guess to begin with, it was like, oh, okay, cool, they're throwing loads of enemies at me. Yeah. Oh, they're all just dying in one hit, and oh, I've got loads of health. Oh, this isn't too much of a challenge. I'm just like spamming the attack button, walking through them all, and like kind of ignoring them because they're just like hopping about doing their own thing. So like you said, they could have done more though with that in the Zelda games. I felt like they could have done more with that in this game as well.
Yeah, that's true. Like a little like better AI, I guess.
Okay, I guess guys, people who are watching who want to play this game, we're going to be going into a bit more spoilery sections from now on. So if all you wanted was the first impressions, I guess maybe skip to the very end and we'll do like a concluding thoughts.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, let's get into sort of after first impressions, and we've like gotten into our first sort of dungeons and stuff. How did you start feeling about the game a bit more?
The earlier dungeons, maybe it felt more original, but as you go through the game, you start to realize like they're really reusing like certain puzzles they seem to have in every dungeon, for example.
Yeah.
So it does start to feel a bit repetitive, and like maybe they didn't quite have enough ideas to fill up their dungeons.
Yeah, I definitely got that. Particularly with how short the game is overall as well. Like I blasted through it in sort of 7-8 hours. And the amount of stuff they actually do reuse is like really surprising with that being the case. But like a lot of the puzzles are sort of your like really standard affair, like sort of phones I got on like my phone 10 years ago. I think I remember them being in like, I think I've seen every single one of those puzzles being in a Pokemon game at some point as well.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, with the sliding blocks and get them in the right position.
Pokemon games love their sliding block puzzles.
And like the ones where you have to like trace the path, like walk along the path.
In order to kind of fill in the whole grid, right? You like have to walk in a certain route.
You have to walk in a certain route, otherwise you can't go over the same tile twice, otherwise you'll fall down.
Right.
And have to restart the puzzle. I do like the fact that they didn't punish you for just like wanting to reset those puzzles. Like they didn't take half a heart off you or whatever for failing the puzzle. So you're like, if you were struggling with one, you could kind of reset it. But like for the most part,
this game is more forgiving than kind of the old school games it's borrowing from, for sure.
Yeah, I sort of going into sort of the first few dungeons felt like, I think I just touched on it, like the combat and also the puzzles just felt a bit easy. I don't know how else better to describe that other than I was finding them a bit too easy. And maybe that's just because we are coming from years of experience playing these types of games.
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it?
Maybe this game just isn't kind of intended and made for us.
Well,
like maybe this is like an introduction to these kind of games.
But they really sell it as, if you love 2D Zelda games, this is a game for you. So you would think they would be amping up the difficulty. Yeah,
because it felt, and we're going into sort of almost like conclusion territory here, but it felt like the whole experience like my first 2D Zelda game.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like this is I talked to my girlfriend, like this is the game I would give to a future child of mine to play. Like this is a really nice game just to introduce them to that sort of style of game. But yeah, they're playing like they know that they're playing to the audience of people who love these games, and yet the challenge isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's much more forgiving than Link to the Past. It's certainly easier than Link to the Past. Part of that is just modern gameplay design, where, you know, if you die, you can just start again, and you're not really punished by like losing progress. If you fail a puzzle, it very quickly puts you right back in front of the puzzle to try again. So I had almost like a list of the puzzles they kept using.
There's like 3 of them, right?
So there's like there's sliding block puzzles, there's the walking puzzles, which we talked about. There's kind of a hybrid of those two where you've got to navigate kind of a maze and then push some blocks around.
Yeah. It's like sliding blocks, but they're not sliding on ice, so
Right.
you position them in a different way, basically.
Yeah.
But it's basically the same principle.
And there's sections where the blocks are falling behind you, and you've got to kind of stay ahead of that.
Yeah. That's not. I wouldn't call that a puzzle so much as like a challenge type thing.
But it's
Like a
another
challenge
thing
room.
that comes up like every dungeon basically. And then finally there's the rotate the pieces so that they connect and like the energy flows through them.
Yeah, I forgot about those
But those are in there too.
because they were so forgettable in terms of like it's like little pieces of like, okay, there's the runes on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You've used your items to uncover them with like burning the vines away with fire or whatever, and then put them in, and then you move on, and it's like again just I guess a delaying tactic. It felt like sometimes like here's just like a hoop you got to jump through.
Right, like, oh, our game's too short. What can we do?
And then there's the Simon Says ones as well.
Which ones are those?
You know, where you like it like taps out a rhythm in 4 blocks, like note blocks,
yes.
and you got to hit them in the right order. Those like some of the ones in like the overworld, like in the actual dungeons, they were too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones in the overworld were too hard.
Did
you find that?
Well, I'm just generally bad at those kind of puzzles. So they were all annoying to me.
Oh jeez.
Have we pretty much described the dungeons at this point? Because it feels like that's just about all there is to them.
Yeah, one thing I will say about the dungeons is some of the boss fights and the mini bosses were some of my favorite in like any Zelda type game.
Yes, very good.
Like there was
bosses.
one, the mini boss in the second dungeon, I still remember from that whole game because I was just like, after it was just like, oh my god, that was really fun. It was basically turned into a bullet hell. I had a really good time with that mini boss and some of the later bosses that were like it. I think they should have amped that up more. I think that should have been the main focus of the game.
Just boss fights in general?
Yeah. I know they were going for the whole Zelda thing, so they kind of almost like stuck in doing tropes, but trying to make it unique, but still stuck in their head in, we need to make it a 2D Zelda game. I think they should have made something a bit more original.
So I think that's a great point. I think more, I don't know what like the history of this developer is, but that seems like where their talents really are, is designing awesome boss fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I'd love to see a sequel to this
Yeah.
with just those sort of boss fights.
Yeah, or just double the amount of bosses, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, on that, like going in towards the end game,
mhm.
like I felt like it cut too short for me at the end. Like I know it's a little condensed Zelda experience, but because I wanted more from the bosses, I really would have liked them to sort of continue, have made the game like maybe chuck another dungeon in there just to see what bosses they would have created.
Yeah.
So I was left wanting more, but for almost probably not the reasons they wanted to make the game.
Yeah, that's legit.
About.
Because I think there's only 4 big dungeons in the game.
There's 4 dungeons.
Yeah. So yeah, totally. Or even just because I don't. There's no like just kind of challenge, boss rush or challenge mode that I remember.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing like that I know of.
So some more to do with that would have been cool. It is definitely shorter than a normal Zelda game by far. Which I don't really mind. Sometimes Zelda games might overstay their welcome.
Yeah, I enjoyed how short this was, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I enjoyed my little 8-hour or so Zelda experience. Here's a little package of a Zelda experience, and you don't need to invest too much time into it. Like I know we kind of both of us just kind of like just got like smashed it out in a few days.
Yeah.
But like it's something that's really forgiving just to play here and there every now and again. I really like that aspect of it.
So we've covered the dungeons. I'm wondering how you feel about the overworld.
Forgettable for a lot of the time. Like there was the grass area, the sort of boggy area and the ice area, and it was just
you don't have to wonder what kind of environments you're going to be traversing, right? It's the same old.
Yeah, it was busy work to get to the next dungeon and find the next boss fight that I wanted to fight. With just random what was the point of collecting those feathers and stuff?
So this is what I wanted to bring up, because they also really reuse. Each area has kind of the same thing that it's reusing as well. I don't want to call it a puzzle, but each area has a particular enemy that you're going to see a whole bunch of, and you're going to have
the enemy. It is literally just that one enemy.
And then you have to grind on killing them to collect. I think it's always 20 of a certain item that then you can cash in for some kind of upgrade or item. Yeah. Which I did enjoy the enemy variety on the overworld, because there's orcs, there's zombies, it's stuff you don't see in Zelda games, and I enjoyed that.
The designs are really cool, but it's just when you get so many of them in just the same area, it just gets stale.
And I also appreciate when they get a little bit grim with it, you're collecting zombie brains or orc skulls. I like it when it's a bit morbid.
And the character you're playing is some 12-year-old girl as well, who's destroying through waves and waves of zombies and orcs with her sword, and just collecting their remains.
Yeah, so I love that. And actually, that's a good. That really plays into the concept of this being a story that somebody's telling their kids, right? Because it gets into that kind of absurd area that Zelda doesn't.
They don't take it too seriously at all. I think Zelda games can sometimes take themselves a little too seriously. Yeah. Which, some of my favorite moments in Zelda games is when they have those moment of levity that just makes you chuckle. It's yeah, that's how Link would react in that situation.
So overall, I think I agree with you on the overworld stuff. It's pretty forgettable. It's pretty much what you'd expect. I just like Zelda overworlds, so even if it's not that exciting, I just like wandering around killing guys.
Yeah, the combat was satisfying enough to the fact that I didn't feel like I was wasting my time.
And I actually like having the collectibles too. Just having an excuse to walk around killing guys is nice.
And cutting grass is always fun.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sad there's no sort of dodge roll mechanic, so I can spam dodge roll as I'm moving through the overworld as well, though.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other mechanics a little bit, because I was playing the game feeling like there's a technique I'm missing. It felt like a dodge roll, or Link to the Past had just a charge, which once you get it, you just charge around every screen of the game. And I kept waiting for this game to have that. And later on, you do get that as an item, but you only have 2 item slots.
Yeah, there's this one thing that, a lot of the items felt a bit wasted as well, particularly towards the end of the game, because there was an hour left at that point. And it's okay, I don't get to use this that much. But you defeat the first 3 dungeons to then go and face the final dungeon with the final boss in it. Ganondorf, wherever his name is. And you get granted the power to shoot beams out of your sword. Right. And that at the time was awesome, I've been rewarded with this awesome power, and one-shots most of the enemies. It's bam, 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 firing away all these lightning bolts at your sword, basically. And like in other Zelda games, like the original as well, only when you're full health. Yeah. And then it struck me, as soon as I took a bit of damage in the first room of the final dungeon, and I didn't have access to that anymore, I was wait, why was this not from almost the very start given to you? I thought this was a big missed opportunity with this game. As soon as I hit that final dungeon and went, hold on, it matters if I get hit by these guys now, because I lose this ability.
So I think I agree. Give that to you earlier. And then there are 2 items you get, which should have just been part of the mechanics. One is, I mentioned, the charge. You can just kind of charge across the screen.
I don't think I ever noticed
that's
that,
optional.
To be honest.
You don't even have to get it.
Yeah, exactly. I think I missed out on that completely.
And there's one that's like a roundhouse sword slash. And it's why is this an item? How is this not just, there are a lot more buttons on the system that you could be using. And this is originally like a Steam game. You had a whole keyboard to work with.
Yeah.
Like,
Jeez.
I don't know why these are equipable items when you only have 2 item slots. Which is another, I guess, pretty small complaint is, how about just a couple more item slots that I can equip things to?
Yeah, that would have definitely gone a long way. But again, I think that's playing into this fact that they're designing a game to be a simple 2D Zelda game. And a short, condensed little package of a Zelda game. Which, again, we've already talked about. It's a bit weird because they're marketing this to people like us.
Right, who would be pros. Yes, and yet they're making it simpler than the Zelda games they're paying homage to. Okay, one other little thing. This drives me crazy, but there is no way to organize the item menu. And it's not, it doesn't follow.
That's only just clicked with me as well. Yeah, go on.
And also there's no like pattern to, like, I think it just adds the item in the next available slot and then it's just there. Right? You can't reorder them yourself and there's no logical way that they're laid out to begin with.
Yeah.
Ugh.
They're just there.
Yeah, drives me crazy. I mean, that's purely a dumb OCD thing, but it drives me crazy.
Ooh. One other thing about the whole storytelling mechanic that we've missed out on talking about is that the kids interject in the story.
Yes.
Sort of similar, like we're talking about with Princess Bride, and like the kid just goes, "Oh no, oh gross, they're kissing again." Oh, but it's similar things like that, but it has actual effects on like the enemies you face.
Yes, that's right.
And like the granddaughter and the grandson will like have almost like a verbal fight about why you should be fighting their monster in the game. It's like, no, a pirate princess queen whatever would be way cooler. It's like, no, a ninja assassin. I actually didn't get around to playing through to that point again because I don't know, I just felt like it was a waste of time going to, like, it was almost halfway through the game before like some more of the meaningful ones, like there's only 2 or 3 and again, a really unique thing about the game that I don't think they explored enough.
No, that's exactly how I feel about it as well. Because it's like, so brilliant, it's so cool, and like when they introduce it initially, you're like, oh, this is brilliant. I bet they're going to keep doing this throughout the game, and then they don't.
And I can't wait for it.
Right.
And then they didn't.
Right. Because like you said, maybe 2-3 times, I think.
Yeah, and they just like, it seems a bit random. Like,
like
the developers are like, okay, we've made the dungeons, what can we do in the overworld? Oh, this is maybe a thing we can throw here. So I think a bit of missed opportunity again in terms of this. Like, I loved that aspect of it. I really enjoyed it. Like, some of the most memorable bits of the game were the bosses and the fact that the grandpa was telling the kids the story and they implemented it into the actual gameplay, which you, again, like, you don't see. And they didn't play on it enough for me.
I don't know. There's so much they could do there, right? It's really a missed opportunity.
Particularly if they decide to make a sequel out of it, like make it their own thing.
Yeah. Don't be
play
afraid.
On those aspects.
Exactly. More. Don't be afraid to do something that's a little bit not Zelda. you know, you can stray. Start with the Zelda as your base, but you can evolve it a bit. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that in their heads they were just trying to pay homage to it too much.
Yeah.
I think they could have like paid their homage to it when with the first few lines the grandpa says and setting up the whole initial story, and then I think they could have like that would have been homage enough. Keep the core gameplay and the combat mechanics the same, and then gone away and done their own thing rather than sticking to the Zelda format, which felt tired in this game.
Yeah. So I am just checking. The developer is called Castle Pixel.
Appropriate.
So, Castle Pixel. And it looks like they've only done 2 games that are on Steam anyways. But and this being the much more recent one. So I'm really hoping that this is just the beginning of a franchise for them.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to see a sequel with that's plays up to those bits that I really love about this game and is really unique.
Right, and you know, maybe...
which is weird. Like we go into this wanting a 2D Zelda game, and then we rag on it for being too like a 2D Zelda game at times.
I mean, it plays it so safe sometimes, whereas I think even actual Zelda games don't play it that safe.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, so this game came out on Steam in March of 2017. So I don't know. I'm hoping we'll hear more from these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's like this game's done well enough to actually warrant them to make a sequel out of it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Watch this space. I really hope they do.
We don't really have like a rating scale or anything like that. We did not plan for this, but I would strongly recommend this game.
I would recommend this game, not strongly.
Okay.
If you do like 2D Zelda games, don't go into it expecting as good as an experience.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Which I do hear like time and time again for like indie games that do a 2D Zelda game. Like, it's a 2D Zelda game, but condensed.
Yes.
And I would recommend it. It's a fun game.
For sure. Support the developer. Get me a sequel. This is a totally greedy recommendation. I want everybody to buy it so the developer will make another one.
Give me more.
All right, so with all of that said, I'd like to thank you, Burrhe, for returning for another video.
It's my pleasure. It's been great to be back.
And we're planning on doing more reviews. We're going to try to make this a bit of a regular thing.
Yeah, definitely. Do we want to mention what other games we've got planned?
Sure.
Or should we leave it as a surprise?
No, let's throw it out there. I kind of tasked you with this one, so I'm supposed to play Celeste at your recommendation.
Which I will leave to you to form your own opinions on. And I look forward to seeing you then.
All right. Yeah, I'll finally find some time to play that, and I'll let you know.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. And let us know, I guess, what do you want to see us review? What are some of your favorite indie games on Switch? And have you played Blossom Tales? Thanks for watching.